Breaking news. Philippines defeats Chinese fleet in South China Sea standoff. The world was caught off guard as this stunning headline flashed across every major news network. In a matter of moments, the story became the center of global attention, sending shockwaves through governments, military analysts, and ordinary citizens alike. The news flashed across screens from Manila to Washington, from London to Sydney, uniting people in disbelief and curiosity. Headlines scrolled urgently across world maps, and TV anchors scrambled to provide updates as the story unfolded in real time. Ordinary people everywhere stopped what they were doing. In offices, cafes, and city streets, workers and passers-by paused, their attention glued to the nearest screen. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for more details. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Families gathered in living rooms, friends huddled around smartphones, and strangers shared updates in hushed tones. The hunger for information was immediate and intense. The world was in shock. Faces reflected disbelief, concern, and awe as the magnitude of the event sank in. International audiences watched, realizing that history was unfolding before their eyes. The South China Sea, long a source of tension and territorial disputes, had just become the epicenter of a dramatic and unprecedented confrontation. For years, nations had argued over these waters, but no one expected such a decisive moment to arrive so suddenly. The event happened quickly, but left a deep mark. In just a few hours, the balance of power in the region seemed to shift. Ships bore the scars of conflict and military personnel stood on deck, their faces etched with the seriousness of what had just occurred. Ships clashed in tense proximity, voices shouted urgent commands over crackling radios, and binoculars scanned the horizon for threats. The eyes of the world were watching every move, every maneuver as the standoff played out. Social media exploded with messages, photos, and videos. Hashtags related to the standoff trended worldwide within minutes. People shared their reactions, theories, and hopes, turning the event into a global conversation. It was clear, something big had changed. Conversations everywhere shifted to the breaking news. As journalists exchanged urgent updates and experts debated the implications for international relations and security. News anchors appeared serious and urgent, their voices steady, but their eyes betraying the gravity of the situation. Every word was measured, every update critical. They showed animated maps, highlighted naval maneuvers, and played dramatic video clips of ships moving through the blue waters. The tension was real, and the stakes had never been higher. No one could believe that the Philippines had just stood up to China and won. In the Philippines, celebrations erupted in the streets, while Navy personnel cheered and embraced. Meanwhile, in Chinese newsrooms, shock and disbelief dominated the atmosphere. People everywhere felt the weight of these events. In living rooms, public squares, and online forums, the world watched and wondered what would come next. The sense of uncertainty was palpable. For the Philippines, this was more than a news story. It was a moment of national pride, a symbol of resilience, and a turning point in their history. The emotional reaction was overwhelming, with tears, cheers, and a renewed sense of unity. For China, it was a wake-up call. Officials and military leaders gathered for urgent briefings, while citizens reacted with a mix of concern, confusion, and determination to understand what had gone wrong. For the rest of the world, it was a moment that could shape the future. World leaders watched closely, knowing that the outcome of this standoff could redefine alliances, strategies, and the balance of power for years to come. The South China Sea is a busy place, a crossroads of global commerce and a flashpoint for international tension. Every day, hundreds of ships, massive cargo vessels, oil tankers, and small fishing boats navigate these waters, carrying goods and resources that fuel economies around the world. Many countries want to control it because of its rich resources and vital trade routes. Beneath the waves lie vast reserves of oil and natural gas, while above, the sea lanes are among the busiest on the planet. Whoever controls these waters holds immense economic and strategic power. In recent years, China has built artificial islands and sent powerful naval ships to assert its claim over nearly the entire sea. These man-made outposts bristle with military installations, radar towers, and airstrips, turning the region into a heavily fortified zone. The Philippines, a much smaller country in terms of military might, has always challenged these sweeping claims. Despite limited resources, the Philippine Navy regularly patrols the disputed waters, determined to defend its sovereignty and the livelihoods of its people. This time, the challenge turned into a direct confrontation. a tense and dangerous battle of wills on the open sea. It all began when Chinese Coast Guard ships blocked a Philippine supply boat, preventing it from reaching Filipino troops stationed on a remote outpost. The supply mission was critical, carrying food, water, and essential supplies. The Philippine Navy responded swiftly, dispatching additional ships to protect their people and assert their rights. The standoff quickly escalated, with both sides maneuvering for position in the choppy waters. Over loudspeakers, both navies exchanged stern warnings, each demanding the other back down. The tension was palpable, with every sailor on edge, knowing that a single misstep could spark a wider conflict. Around the world, people watched the unfolding drama on their screens, anxious and uncertain. The South China Sea standoff dominated headlines, as leaders and citizens alike wondered what would happen next. Suddenly, the situation took a dangerous turn. A Chinese ship made an aggressive move, attempting to ram a Philippine boat. The vessels came perilously close to colliding, raising fears of an all-out clash. But the Philippine forces stood their ground. Despite the threat, they maintained their defensive positions, refusing to be intimidated or forced back. The Filipino sailors remained calm but alert, their training and discipline shining through in the face of danger. Each crew member knew their role and trusted their teammates. Through skillful maneuvering and seamless teamwork, the Philippine crew avoided disaster. They protected their ships and each other, showing remarkable courage under pressure. After hours of high-stakes tension, the Philippine Navy's resolve paid off. The Chinese ships began to withdraw, unable to force the Filipinos from their position. Relief and pride swept through the Filipino crew. Cheers and applause broke out on deck as they realized they had successfully defended their territory. The Chinese ships retreated, leaving the Philippine Navy in control of the contested waters. For now, the threat had passed, but the struggle for the South China Sea was far from over. The message was clear: the Philippines would not back down. Against overwhelming odds, they had stood firm, sending a powerful signal to the world about their determination and courage. The sun was just rising over the calm waters, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink. The gentle waves glimmered under the first light of day, as if nothing unusual was about to unfold. But on the deck of the Philippine Navy ship, the mood was anything but calm. Tension hung in the air, thick and heavy, as every sailor prepared for what might come. Philippine sailors stood at their posts, eyes fixed on the horizon, scanning for any sign of movement. Their faces were set with determination, each one knowing the importance of their mission. The metal decks shone in the early light, reflecting the rising sun and the resolve of the crew. Every footstep echoed with purpose, radios buzzed with urgent messages, voices crackling through the static. Every second felt heavy, as updates and warnings were relayed from one end of the ship to the other. On the horizon, Chinese ships moved closer, their flags waving in the wind. The sight of the imposing vessel sent a chill through the Filipino crew, but they stood firm. Loudspeakers blasted warnings in both languages, echoing across the water. Commands and cautions rang out, urging restraint, but also readiness. The air was thick with fear and determination. Every sailor felt the weight of responsibility, knowing that their actions could shape the course of history. Filipino sailors gripped the rails, knuckles white, ready for anything. Their training and courage would be tested in the moments ahead. Their boats rocked in the waves as they faced ships much bigger than their own. The size difference was intimidating, but their resolve was unshaken. Suddenly, a Chinese vessel sped forward, trying to cut off a Philippine ship. Alarms rang out, piercing the tense silence. The threat of collision was real and immediate. The Filipino captain shouted orders, his voice steady but urgent. Every command was clear, every instruction vital. The crew reacted fast, steering away from danger with practiced precision. Years of drills and discipline came into play as they maneuvered to avoid disaster. They worked together with steady hands and sharp eyes, refusing to give in. Each sailor relied on the next, their teamwork a testament to their training and unity. The standoff lasted for hours, with both sides locked in a tense waiting game. Every minute felt like an eternity as the world watched and waited. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, the Chinese ships began to pull back. The immediate danger passed, but the memory of the confrontation would linger. Relief washed over the Filipino crew, smiles broke through the tension, and quiet cheers rippled across the deck. They had faced the threat and stood their ground. They had stood their ground, united and unyielding in the face of overwhelming odds. Their courage and discipline had carried them through. They had protected their home waters, defending not just territory, but the pride and sovereignty of their nation. Their vigilance would continue, always ready for whatever came next. The world would not forget this day. News of the standoff spread quickly, drawing global attention to the bravery of the Filipino sailors and the tense struggle in the South China Sea. Their actions would be remembered as a powerful stand for their country and for peace. The Philippine sailors showed great courage. They faced a much larger and better equipped enemy. Still, they did not run. They stood firm, defending their land and people with pride. Their bravery became a story shared all over the world. One young officer, barely out of training, stood at the front of his ship. He spoke calmly to his crew, even as Chinese ships closed in. "We protect our own," he said. His words gave his team strength. Together, they watched each other's backs. The crew worked through fear and fatigue. Some had families waiting at home. Some had never faced danger like this before, but none of them left their post. They remembered what they were fighting for: freedom, their country, and each other. When the battle was won, cheers and tears filled the ship. The bravery of these men and women made their whole country proud. They had shown the world what it means to be fearless in the face of danger. So, this battle is not just important for the Philippines and China, it actually matters to the whole world. The South China Sea is, honestly, one of the busiest seas on Earth. Ships carry oil, food, and goods through these waters every single day. Whoever controls the sea, well, they have huge power over trade. If China had won, it might have controlled even more of the sea. Other countries would definitely feel threatened, but with the Philippines winning, the balance changed. Now, smaller countries believe they can stand up for their rights too. The fight also showed that power is not just about size. Courage, teamwork, and a strong will can really make a difference. People everywhere are watching and learning from this battle. This event will shape how countries deal with each other moving forward. It may lead to new rules and even stronger friendships. The world is paying attention. For years, China has grown stronger in Asia. It has built islands and sent ships to show its power. Many smaller countries worried they could not stand up to China. This battle changed that idea. The Philippines showed that even a smaller country can defend its rights. This gives hope to others, like Vietnam and Malaysia, who also have disputes with China. They see that unity and courage can change things. Asia is not the same after this event. Alliances are growing stronger. Countries are talking about helping each other more. The old balance, where China seemed unbeatable, is breaking. Now Asian countries may work together to keep the sea open and fair. The Philippines has become a symbol, a country that dared to challenge the odds and won. China's leaders did not expect this loss. For years, they have shown confidence and power. Now they must rethink their plans. Will they try to take back lost ground, or will they change their approach? Inside China, some people are asking questions. Why did their ships lose? What should their country do next? The world is also watching to see how China responds. Their image as an unstoppable power has been shaken. China must also think about its neighbors. If it pushes too hard, other countries might join together against it. This could make things even harder for China in the future. For now, China faces a choice. It can listen to others and work for peace, or it can risk more fights. The next steps will shape China's role in Asia and the world. The United States quickly spoke out. American leaders praised the courage of the Philippine forces. They promised more support for their ally. Freedom of the seas must be defended, one official said. Other countries in Southeast Asia watched closely. Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia sent messages of support. They also called for peace and respect for international laws. Some leaders said they now feel braver about defending their own waters. In Europe and beyond, many countries backed the Philippines. They warned China not to use force. The United Nations called for calm and respect for rules. The world is now more united in watching the South China Sea. The next moves of China, the Philippines, and their friends will decide what happens next. The events in the South China Sea are more than just a battle. They are a turning point for Asia and the world. The Philippines showed that courage can beat power. The message is clear: even the small can stand tall. This battle broke old ideas about what is possible. It gave hope to countries everywhere. It made the world pay attention to fairness, freedom, and friendship. It challenged China to think differently. History will remember this moment. The bravery of the Philippine forces and the unity of their friends changed everything. The world is watching, and the future is open to new possibilities. This is why the battle in the South China Sea will never be forgotten.